Hi pals, it's me, Artie, then pronouns only, and I know this is a bit late, but I have never been so devastated about a show being cancelled, even though I already knew it was cancelled before I started watching it. Okay, so recently, I finally watched Chaos. I went in already knowing that it was cancelled. Okay, I have read a few possible rumours that maybe the creators of the show will find somewhere else to at least finish the show. So we're not left with this cliffhanger for the rest of our lives. But I'm not holding out much hope. Either way, I went into watching the show knowing it was cancelled, but I didn't really expect the cliffhangers at the end, honestly. That just hadn't... They're huge. And I have not stopped thinking about it since we finished watching it, which has been like maybe at least a week by this point. I really enjoyed that show for so many reasons. Generally, I love like a myth or folk tale kind of reinvention. There are so many Greek ones that I do really enjoy. Obviously, I love Percy Jackson, the books. I haven't seen the new show yet. The films were bad. The filmer? There was only one, right? I don't know. I think there was only one. I did really enjoy that one game, Stray Gods. I had some critiques on that myself anyway, but overall I quite liked that interpretation as well. It was quite an interesting and new one in my opinion, but does sort of feel quite similar to Chaos in a lot of ways too. Everyone is super gay, which is very fitting for Greek and Roman myths. There was a lot of weird stuff going on between a lot of those characters. And I mean, they kind of openly talk about it and acknowledge it's weird to us in present day, but also just some of it's really funny. Like, there was a particular line, I don't even know what initiated this, but Poseidon said to Zeus, like, I don't fuck with family or something like that. Yeah, something along those lines. And then we just find out not long later he is fucking with family, and it is very specifically Zeus's wife, Hera. So I have a vague understanding of, you know, a bunch of different Greek and Roman myths. I did recognise a lot of things where there was parts I did remember, but like also there are so many interpretations out there, different versions out there. I'm sure a lot of my experience with these myths are not anything like the originals, and are just based off of like a loose concept, so I will not be going into detail about anything to do with accuracy to the Greek myths. However, there is a author, booktuber, who is basically the one to go to for this. So if you do want to learn more about Greek myths and things like that, I recommend that you follow Jean, and she also has a few books published on similar topics. So yeah, like I am no expert on these myths, but a lot of the, you know, overarching plots for lots of these different characters and the characters themselves are very like relatively easily recognizable. It looks like they mainly picked myths that people would more likely recognize for this season at least. Yeah, overall this show is just generally very camp. The way it looks, the way the actors perform and interact with each other, and also the plot lines. And I mean, I think a lot of Greek myths are very melodramatic and sometimes just don't make sense, and you just kind of have to accept it. The ways they make it make sense, you just have to accept it, you know? And I love a mystery. I love a mystery plot that we have to follow and try to like solve along with the other characters. I love that whole like, I love the whole prophecy thing. It was amazing. I love the fact that multiple characters had the same prophecy, and like, it basically like a game of dominoes. Everybody had to be at the right place at the right time for the prophecy to like happen, basically. There was just such an iconic cast. Susie Eddie Izzard as one of the Fates, incredible. Jeff Goldblum as Zeus, literally hilarious. Whiny, white man vibes, culturally gay, but I mean, is he culturally gay if he's kind of also like canonically bisexual anyway, but also he's definitely getting with more women than men, but you know, yeah, he's just like a really great like depiction of privileged white men of 2024. He just he gives a lot of that vibes. Like all of his power derives from being able to control other people mostly. Billie Piper as Cassandra was a random one. It was quite a small role, as in like you don't see her on screen a lot. She doesn't really say a lot. She's kind of perceived as just like an insane homeless person pretty much. Maybe it's just me and I don't follow Billie Piper's career particularly closely, but I don't feel like she's been in much on TV for like a while. I don't know this woman's name. But like in the underworld, the dead lady from Troy, like the most random casting. She is in so many British TV shows. She's rarely a main character. She's quite a big character actor. I mean, like her in this is peak character acting. She's usually like a side character that's kind of just like hard to like. She's usually hard to like, but is also quite an important character to the plots she's in. Whether it's because she's always kind of getting in the way, like in Chaos, or whether she's kind of like the annoying one who's like, you need to just go and sort this out by. She's in so many things. I think she's the auntie in, is it Funny Woman, Funny Girl? It's basically like a period piece show, historic show about making a TV, and it stars a working class woman from Blackpool who becomes a massive star. It's a really good show actually. I love that show. She's very autistic coded. I love her. But yeah, so that was just like a really random casting to see, and yeah, it just feels really uncanny seeing her in a show like this with so many like big American names. I think that's part of what the weirdness of this show feels to me. It feels generally very uncanny valley. I think obviously that's the point. But yeah, it just feels really weird when UK TV and film meets American TV and film, because like yeah, a lot of these actors who are British are like kind of big deals here, or like, you know, are proper working actors who regularly get work often. That is their only job, is being an actor. But it's like a very different vibe here versus American TV and film overall. So yeah, it just is very bizarre. I mean, like literally the woman who plays Hera, I recognise her, I'm not sure what from, but she's like a British Shakespeare actor. Like fancy Shakespeare actor vibes. And then we just got fucking Jeff Goldblum. I don't know how to really explain that further, so you're welcome. Oh yeah, Hades, that's another one that feels really strange. Is the guy who plays Hades as well is just like such an iconic British dude from a particular film series that I will not name. But obviously a lot of other things too, but that's like where me and probably a lot of people around my age know him from, because we grew up with that, or just whether you liked it or not, it was always being shoved in everyone's faces, you know. So I am so terrible at pronouncing Greek names, like of the people in the myths. So Chiron, girlies, I struggle pronouncing words and names in English, and that is my first and basically only language. So, well, my computer has decided it's not going to work, so I can't even look up the names to make sure I'm saying them right. So I think it's Chiron, but I could be completely wrong, because also I get this name mixed up with the horse guy, so the half horse guy. So I have no idea. But yeah, that guy, also don't remember his name. There are so many people in this show that I recognise, but I just do not remember their names, so having a good time here. But like, I've seen him in so many things. Like, I recognise him. He's, you know, a big actor and has been for years, and he's just in this, you know, casually, he's just in this. I loved the design of it all. I loved the set, I loved the costumes, obviously like the makeup and hair and styling like that too. The colour grading and stuff of the final product. Choices made in all those areas I love. I think it is a really great show to look at. And like, this would definitely be, it's probably already out there, I'll need to look it up actually, but this is the kind of thing that I would love to watch somebody's like costume analysis on, and like how those things fit the characters. Like, gonna Google that later. I also love that the casting has been very diverse as well. However, we're still lacking in fatties. The only fatties we got, what's his name, Mayor Minus or something, and he's like the bad guy, so very typical. Oh, and like the Fates, a couple of the Fates. We don't have any leading fatties, you know. And then also there's like minimal disabled people. I believe there was one disabled actor who was in the American Horror Story freak show. I was like, why do I recognize this man? I could see him in my brain covered in tats, and I was like, where do I know him from? And I was like, oh yeah. But yeah, he was in it, and I believe that he is the only disabled actor slash character. So like, whilst that was a slay, I am sad that was lacking. Before I started looking a bit more into it to write my script, make this video, it was very clear to me that at least one of the inspirations was Baz Luhrmann's Romeo and Juliet. Like, that is a film where I'm not super keen on like actually the film itself. And the only thing I like about it is how it looks and Mercutio. Yeah, I feel like the colour grading finish is very Baz Luhrmann, Romeo and Juliet. A lot of the costuming for a lot of the characters, very Romeo and Juliet.
I also found this whilst editing that they actually also have the same sort of introduction title screens, which I didn't realise because I've not watched Romeo and Juliet in a really long time. So another stylistic similarity, probably directly inspired from Romeo and Juliet.
And like I said, I did find a post from the actress who played Riddy that said, you know, for one, this was confirmation. It was confirmed that they did use a lot of images from Baz Luhrmann's Romeo and Juliet, and specifically used a lot of photos of, or like screenshots of the actor who played Mercutio, Harold Perrineau. And yeah, again, I'm sorry, I usually like to double check, but my computer just literally won't let me play a YouTube video to check, so great. But yeah, so like they used lots of screenshots of him in that film, and particularly used that in mind for the character of Riddy. And I am genuinely very obsessed with that whole idea because, anyway, for one, like, Mercutio is like the one actually overtly queer character in Romeo and Juliet. He dresses in drag in the ballroom party scene, like quite early on, and he's just like literally so slay. I love him so much. And like, if we could have just had a film about Mercutio being like the gay friend of Romeo and what he gets up to, I would watch that. just you know, I would watch that. So the actress who plays Riddy was saying that basically the casting didn't know until long after already casting her that actually that's her father. She's the daughter of the fucking iconic Mercutio from Romeo and Juliet. Like, you can't get much better or closer to your inspiration except from literally that man himself. I love that. I love that. Love that. That's the kind of stuff I want to know. I want to know that kind of stuff. Obsessed. I'm obsessed with just generally how queer everyone is and how queered everybody has been made. And I mean, like I said at the start, you know, the Greek myths anyway are quite queer. Everyone's pretty much sexually fluid, but a lot of the modern day interpretations like to go, oh, gays? Never heard of one. Never heard of a single gay. So then everything's just really super cis and straight, and it's a bit boring, honestly. I can't remember which video I said this in recently. Actually, it might have been one of my reality TV show dating ones. I want more bisexuals and things because it opens up the plot more to more drama. Give me the drama, please. So yeah, I'm obsessed with how queer the Fates and the Furies are. The Fates are like, you know, these non-binary trans femme weirdos. Positive. I'm saying this because I love them. And then the Furies are these like sick butch biker chicks vibing with the older queer energy that both of these groups have. At least like one of each are a little bit older than the rest. I think next, if there's a return, I would like some more of these Fates, please. We didn't get a ton of them, but I really liked the twist on actually they weren't going after Artie at all. They just have some secrets to give her. So I love them. I also noticed whilst I was making this video the similarities of the Capulets from Romeo and Juliet's costumes to the Furies. Things like generally all much darker colours, darker palette, leather, quite a bit of leather. Hell yeah for the leather daddies, am I right? And these little like waistcoats, obviously like they're a different vibe each, but like, you know, so I didn't notice that. I was wondering, I was like, who's the Capulet boys? And I'm like glad that I noticed that now, because I do enjoy very much. As well as like the Capulet men are like these guys really attempting to be macho and like terrifying and scary and like being intimidating, whereas like everyone is just straight up terrified of the Furies, even though like their plot in this wasn't to murder someone. But also they, oh god, this is a whole other bit that I never really got into in this video and I'm so upset, but like I love that they are depicted as the people who go after R-worders and the, you know, terrible horrible men in the world, etc., committing violence to, you know, people who don't deserve it, particularly women and marginalised people. And then something else I really want to know and see more about, if there was ever like more seasons, and obviously would be part of like the like clarifying and finishing off this season's plot lines, will be this whole idea of like this rebellion in the underworld that, you know, Medusa and Charon, I don't know how to pronounce that without calling him Charon, so Charon, I'm going to say, kind of being two of, it seems like possibly a lot of people who are part of this rebellion against the gods. Like, I want that story, girlies. I want that story. Bring it back. Bring it back. Then we have Orpheus and Dionysus. Girlies. Especially, like, they have, they both have the very, like, Baz Luhrmann, Romeo and Juliet, like, old Hawaiian t-shirt of the Montagues vibe. And they're a little... They're a little gay. I mean, Dionysus is like canonically definitely kind of gay. We see him very early on snogging whoever. Multiple genders. Men and women at the very least. But like has no real romantic interest established until like late in the season. But like there's a lot of queer coding. A lot of queer coding in the wordless interactions between Orpheus and Dionysus, like particularly that moment where I think Orpheus is leaving Dionysus behind to go to the underworld to collect Riddy. Gully, why are you holding his face so romantically? Why are you holding his face so close to yours? Just lean forwards and give him a kiss, babes. If this season is picked up and continued elsewhere, I'll be watching very closely. But towards the end of the season, Dionysus has a lot more like obvious outward affection, admiration towards Artie after murdering her own father. Which, and like this has been said by lots of people I'm sure, you know, is basically practically like a dream Dionysus has to kill his own father, to be rid of Zeus. And to live freely however he wants to, but it takes courage and power to do something like that, particularly with Zeus. So like if this is picked up and completed by another network of some kind, I am awaiting a polyamorous little triad. It's probably the wrong terminology, I know absolute shit all about polyamorous terminology, but like I just really want Dionysus, Artie and Orpheus to just live happily ever after. You know, I don't think Orpheus and Artie technically like have to be interested in each other, but I just want them to be like a happy little trio, you know? Like just give me that, please. I can't choose between the two of them. And I don't think Dionysus would either. Just let him kiss both of them and they are all happy, okay? However, I will never, and I mean it, I will never recover from Kaos. Like, just full stop. Done. Video's over. I will never recover after his plot. Like, I don't remember this myth in like full detail. I remember a vague concept of like, you know, the Amazons casting out their sons at a certain age or like at, you know, some point. But I love the trans twist on this myth. And also, obviously, I'm obsessed with the fact that, yeah, they actually cast a trans actor for it too. Dead obsessed with the character, dead obsessed with his backstory, also his personality, and for how cute the actor is. There are so many cute boys in this. Like I can't pick one. Orpheus, Dionysus, Kaos, can all call me. I love them all. Also, Riddy is beautiful, and I wouldn't say no if she were to give me a kiss, you know? Everyone is ridiculously gorgeous, and I'm very bisexual, okay? I'm very bisexual. Back to the point. Back to the video. I love the interpretation as well of the Orpheus and Riddy myth. Again, I don't really know a lot about it. I mostly remember it from the game I mentioned, Stray Gods, because that's involved in that plotline. I think it's like Riddy and Kaos have such like a bittersweet plotline together, but also separately too, of course. Like the way Riddy didn't feel alive until she was literally dead. The change up of how Riddy and Orpheus ended when they finally got out of the underworld, you know, like how she left for the good of humanity because it's part of the prophecy that she has to do this, she has to leave, she has to be alive again, and she put that in front of her own wants and needs of, you know, she's just pretty much found the love of her life after she's already died and has to leave him again with her soon to be ex, because he's not up to date yet. He's not up to date yet. He's about to be. He's not yet. So like soon to be ex. Kaos as well obviously had that whole plot with the Amazons that he didn't even really come out as trans because his mum already knew. It was part of her prophecy, which was, loved that. The fact that she thought she'd had a girl, so that the prophecy was wrong, but babes, they knew, and he's a trans guy, and the way that he, you know, was with the Amazons for a few extra years because he didn't come out, but his mum knew, and she was like, you gotta go, you've got to leave, you need to like go live and grow up, but I can't come with you, I have to stay here. Which I don't know, I didn't really understand what their mums were doing, but clearly they had like, they knew things, they had like words with higher powers, you know, both Riddy and Carne's mothers knew things that I could not really fully keep up with. But again, they sacrificed their lives with their children who they loved to protect their children, but also then by extension protect humanity as a whole. And then Carneus died thinking his mum had turned him in, when again it was just part of a whole wider, larger plot. But anyway, like I said, Riddy is leaving the underworld, leaving the new love of her life, Carneus, and they will probably... all the options suck, is what they're... from what they currently know, all of their options suck. They will either never see each other again, or when they do, Riddy will be probably like 50 to 60 years older, because it'll be 50 to 60 years later into her life that she has died. So they've lost 50 to 60 years of being together. But because Carneus was already 10 years into his 200-year sentence as well, he will then be like 60 to 70 years into his sentence of 200 years. Well, when Riddy dies again, it will either be briefly before she enters the frame, so they won't really spend time together, or she'll have her own 200 years sentence to serve again, but Carneus is still 60 to 70 years into his own sentence, so at some point he will have to go through that frame, and Riddy will be left in her remaining 60 to 70 years of her 200-year sentence. And like, it's just all, it's tragic and sad no matter how you look at it, because there is no like perfect ending with what they know now. And we were like, unless they renew with someone else, we will never know. There are some things as well that weren't explained about Carneus. So proper quick last second spoiler as well, that Carneus is able to restore souls or something like that. So all the people who walk through the frame end up in like the nothing place of, as these like weird creepy statue things, and the only other person who can do this is Hades. He can take a soul out of somebody and he can put one back in, or whatever, you know, like that's basically the way I understood it. Carneus went through the frame with his mum when she killed herself to go meet him and get him to move on to the next part of what he needs to be doing for this prophecy, and he wakes up, but she's still a statue, and he is so distraught. He manages to give her soul back or something, whatever it is, reignites her soul or some shit, and Hades catches him doing it and is like, huh? How the fuck did you do that? Again, I don't really remember a lot about any of these specific myths. The one thing I do know is that most of these, the main three or four gods, you know, Zeus, Poseidon, Hades, Hera, went about doing the jiggy with quite a lot of people, a lot of mortals and a lot of other beings and shit. Usually Hades has not had other children, or he's had like maybe one. So my theory, and it's what I hope, is that Carneus is Hades' child, because we don't know anything about his father. I think that's also part of the Amazon thing, is that men aren't allowed where they live. I don't know what happens or what they do, whether they just go and get pregnant and fuck off, or if the men, I have no idea. So like, I hope he's Hades' son, because I also really love Hades in this show, but I also do have a sneaking suspicion that maybe he's one of Zeus's, and Zeus just didn't keep track of that one, you know? but I feel like he has to be some kind of creation. I mean, I guess that's probably a word that Zeus and Hera would use anyway, but like he must be like a direct descendant of one of these top 3, 4 gods to have power like that. You know, like I don't think he could just be an Amazon or like be a descendant from Amazons and be able to do that kind of thing. So that's my little fan theory there, but that is just based off of wishful thinking mostly. I'm devastated. I also need to put in, I wish there was more 3-headed dog content. Didn't have enough for me. I'm gonna need Carneus, if he becomes alive, if there's a return, to snatch his little fave dog, because I just need more actual dog content. We got a lot more of the cat, Dennis, but we didn't get a lot of, I don't know, I can't remember if the dog was actually called Cerebus. I don't know how to pronounce these names. I assume probably, just can't remember hearing it. But I love 3-headed dogs. Also really love the contrast actually. I know I was talking about all like the sort of Technicolor vibe of most of the show anyway, but the fact that the underworld is in black and white grayscale, love that juxtaposition. And I think that really adds to the weirdness between Hades and Zeus, that Zeus just for some reason feels like Zeus created Poseidon, Hades and Hera is like the canon of this show. It varies in different shows obviously as well, but he created his own siblings and also wife who's also a sibling, but also all his children sort of. Things that make no sense, but you just have to go with it. And it feels a lot like he basically just made Hades to make himself feel better, so he had somebody to bully and demean and all that sort of shit. Anyway, yeah, I just really liked that juxtaposition and how, I mean, I saw somebody talking about the architecture as well of the underworld and how it's super industrial, brutalist. And then obviously in the alive human world, they're in Crete. So it's like, lovely holiday, mamma mia. Honey, honey, how he thrills me. Honey, honey. Honey, honey. The sun is shining, and it's all nice like a holiday and feels exotic and lovely. You know? Yeah, really love that. Pardon me. One of my criticisms as well though is that I feel like Artie wasn't really seen through the show as much as the other 2 humans that were part of like the important prophecy. We saw her kind of quite a bit at the beginning, quite a bit at the end, and there was just like a big chunk in the middle where we just didn't really see her. I would have preferred it if we could have like sewn in a bit more of her and her story into it, because as well, like sure, we might have seen her father, but we would barely see her through the show. So like I would have just liked a bit more of like including Artie in this, because she just kind of almost didn't feel as important as the other 2 a lot of the time, when she's kind of fucking important, you know. She kills her father and it's part of the prophecy, and she finds her brother who's been locked up and basically tortured his entire life and can't even speak English because he's been deprived of basic human necessities. So yeah, I loved how it panned out. I loved that twist at the end where she's like, you've just killed me brother, and actually it was me. I'm the prophecy anyway. You know, like, that's one of my favourite things as well. I think that's something I really enjoy about these prophecies and like the mystery of this sort of show, is that the prophecy is not likely to mean exactly what you think it means, and that's done on purpose, babes. So I just love that. Being an autistic who loves like interrogating language, love that, because it wasn't the firstborn, it was the one that first took breath, mate. Love that. That was a good one. I do wish her brother hadn't been killed, or that I wish that she had a bit more time with her brother before he was killed. I feel like her character deserved to spend more time with him, and that they could begin healing from some of the absolute ridiculous stuff that they were both put through because of their father being in the pockets of the gods, and the fact that he was literally just held captive his whole life, and the only person who was kind to him was, I don't know what the character's name is, but the disabled guy. Should be on here. Where is he? Where are you? I'm so sorry. Present minus, where is he? Where is he? Where are you? I also feel like we didn't get much of him either. I gotta liked more of that guy. Disables for disableds. Where is he? As a side note, I did really enjoy the casting of Poseidon. Oh, Matt Fraser. Daedalus? That is not how they were saying it in the show, but like that's the best I can do. Daedalus? Right? That's it? Yeah. So Matt Fraser. I can't remember what my point was now because it took so long to find him. Oh yeah, I just would have liked more of him. More of his story. But I also did really... Okay, there was a little bit that was like... It makes me sad. Like, obviously, he was part of how Glaucus, Arie's brother, ended up being locked up. And he was arrested, and he's basically a prisoner but doesn't look like a prisoner, and has to make these wax figurines of Glaucus as he grows up, blah blah blah, for the mother. But he had a particularly like good and gentle relationship with Glaucus, that everybody else who would enter the cells would use the electronic button and stuff. However, because Daedalus is disabled, he is not able to open those gates in the same way as other people. So he uses, like, I don't even really know what it was, like some kind of like stick thing. And that is how Glaucus knew it was him and not anybody else, like his father or just guards and shit who were always horrible to him. He knew it was Daedalus coming and would not attack him. I just really like that detail, because disability, basically. The only reason why he knew the difference is because this is basically an adaptation that Daedalus needs to even be able to open and unlock those doors. And I just really liked that touch. It makes me want to cry. That's what I mean. That's what I mean when you like include disability in the plot, include disability in all of its... I don't even know how to explain it, but that's just, you know, such a small detail that so many non-disabled people would just not even think about. And obsessed. I don't know shit about that, about any of that myth at all. I don't know if this guy is meant to be disabled. I don't know anything, but I love that. Perfecto. And yeah, like I briefly mentioned, I really enjoy this brand of Hades and Persephone. One of my favourites. I enjoy the positive interpretations of their story, and this show also made it make sense. Persephone asks Hera why the story that's told about her in Hades is this negative, awful, violent story where she doesn't want to be there and is being held captive for half the year, when that's not the case. So it really sounds like they've really put it into the perspective of like, this is propaganda put in place for people to not like Hades and be scared of him and be scared of the underworld, blah blah blah, when he's really just this like kind of meek old nerdy dude who's just so tired. Like low-key chronic illness like vibes. He needs a nap. He needs a nap. Her bringing this up just really highlights that juxtaposition as well between who they actually are as people and who Zeus is basically telling everybody that they are. Ironically, I feel like it's, especially like in this version, it's basically the opposite. Right? Hera doesn't really want to be stuck with Zeus. She wants that power, but she doesn't really want to be with him and doesn't really seem to like him very much. And he's the unforgiving and violent and all-powerful, scary god. Just something to think about. propaganda, my friend. It is strong. And also, like, just generally, I've never really pictured a nerdy Persephone. I love her. I love her because she's just like, I know things. I'm smart. I see you. I watch you doing this stuff that's terrible. I see what you're doing to my husband, who I love. You all suck. You're all so obsessed with yourselves and your power that you're just letting everything go to shit, literally. Because that's then basically the rest of the plot. Everything's about Zeus's ego more than literally anything else. There are so many things that I saw, but I know there's so many things that I would have missed because I'm not particularly like familiar with the Greek myths. So I would love to know what I did miss. Oh, love that. I think that's also a thing that I will continue to notice more things the more times you watch it. So far I've only watched it once because I'm just letting it sit and digest, and I'm just sad. I'm so sad. But there's a bit near the end where Dionysus asks Hera if he can meet his mum, because she has his mum as one of her bees, because that's what she does to Zeus's human mistresses a lot of the times. And she's like, yeah, sure, but she thinks it's like a bartering tool, which is absolutely not. She's misread the whole situation. He's just basically a kid who just wants to meet his mum. However, he doesn't get to meet his mum because Zeus, who was not privy to this agreement, just makes it all go up in... I can't remember if it was in flames. I think he just literally lightninged it. The devastation I felt for that. And then also Dionysus's little buddy Dennis, the cat, killed. Devastation. Like, I'm not a huge massive fan of cats. However, I think cats are nice. I think they're sweet. And I don't think they deserve cruelty. And I loved him as a little like pal. And I didn't understand his relevance until thanks again to some people on Tumblr who showed that, for one, the name Dennis means follower of Dionysus, and then also that Dionysus had a black panther, and this little cat is just all black. And also, if you're gonna bring a cat to me, an all black cat is definitely... I love them creepy little magical beings, you know. Dionysus really gets a really bad time. But there's also this really beautiful moment after Zeus has gone off to be unwell somewhere else, where Dionysus still, he's holding on to this poor dead cat, which is literally a kitten as well, by the way. Dennis is a kitten. He's got this little kitten in his arms, and Persephone has gone with him, and they go and bury him. And she basically tells him, Zeus says that having feelings and loving people or things is weakness, but Persephone's like, no, love is strength and power. And I just love her so much. The irony that Hera has no maternal instincts whatsoever, as like what the woman, the goddess of women and marriage and wives and shit. Not a maternal instinct in the house. But the fact that literal gods in charge of the underworld are actually more parental and caring, and like, honestly, I feel like Hades conducts a lot of gentle parenting towards Zeus when really he just needs a quick... Someone needs to... That man. Gentle parenting is not going to work on that man. I love how gentle they are, but also how, like, again, like, they, you know, see death as, like, for one, not necessarily the end, even though that's a whole, like, thing to this plot. What? And also, like, they have these roles in the underworld of basically peer support in a way. I think, were they called divers? Those people are there to help the people who might be struggling with the idea of going through the frame. And even though there's some like bad things happening, bad things going on in the background and behind the scenes, there are lots of those elements I just think are really human. Like, the most human of the gods are those two. And Dionysus, sorry, because he is a full god. I forgot. Even though he's not supposed to be, he is. Like, I just love them. I love them. This show as well, there's some pretty gnarly things in it. For the most part, you don't see a lot of gore. You don't see a lot of the bad things happening to people. Like, you do get a few, like, throats in some places, but they're usually like side characters, small characters, things like that. When it comes to some of the harder bits of violence, you don't really see it, or you don't see too much like graphic detail. So like from memory, you don't see much that happens to Dennis, but you do see, I'm pretty sure you see the knife through that poor thing. You hear it. You see the post-it happening in like episode 1 or 2. Hera catches Zeus with another mortal. So like not only is he cheating, she's also already pregnant, and they'd already agreed that he was going to stop doing that. They're not going to do that anymore. So Hera forces her through a sped up version of pregnancy, then birth, then passes the baby over to Zeus and is like, right, deal with that. So like you don't see it, but you know what he does, and you do hear the neck snap. So like, yeah, there's a lot of implied violence that is really gnarly. My mum found that really hard to like witness, and I think that almost put her off from watching the rest of the show. But it is also literally just so true. So true to the myths, really. They did some vile things to innocent beings so much in those myths, but it is gnarly. But you often don't see explicit violence or gore, which is my preferred version. I don't really necessarily need to see that to be heebie-jeebied out, you know. And it also just continues to add to, you know, how cruel Hera and Zeus are. And like low-key, I think there's definitely something in it that the most cruel of the gods that we know so far are like 2 white people. I know Hades is also white, but like, you know, Persephone is very against cruelty and stuff. Dionysus has a lot of feelings and feels bad, and he likes humans, and he's being told not to like the humans. Poseidon participates in a lot of cruelty and manipulation. However, he does seem to feel a certain way about it, whereas Zeus and Hera are a bit more like, it's a necessary evil kind of vibe. We just got to do it. It's just business kind of thing. Like, they're so detached from the violence that they commit. I think for both of them, their violence is both linked to their egos more than anything else. Whereas everybody else who commits violence, it's usually because there's basically an unsaid threat to their status and safety, etc. So, this thing is kind of interesting. You know? I mean, yeah, like I said, I'm disappointed that like almost everybody is skinny and not disabled. But I really appreciate that they went for the queer, the trans stuff, like the queer and trans characters of colour, and also like overlapping those marginalizations as well, kind of dirtying the water a little bit, making it a little bit less straightforward, you know. Just because they seem straight doesn't necessarily mean like they're definitely straight, my guy. But like, yeah, I just wish we had a little bit more overall body diversity in like who they've cast. But I do really like what they've been doing. It's a really good show. I'm so mad. I am so upset it was cancelled, as I feel like if it does come back, it is more likely to only return to like finish this plotline now, and not necessarily expand to where it could have gone. Because I feel like they could have started in like a season 2, yeah, finishing off that initial story, but also starting to incorporate other gods and people from the Greek myths to continue the storyline and create new stories and plots that continued the show and kind of rotated new characters and stuff into it. It could have been like a really massive, like an incredible show. Like, fuck the MCU. I want the gay gods, thank you. I want the gay Greek gods, and then the new interpretation where the terrible gods get it in the neck, right? I want them to face some consequences. But now I feel like the best we might get, this is just my assumption, obviously I have no idea. The only thing that I think we're going to get is maybe just a finishing off of that initial plot line. A bit like, okay, so touchy subject for some people, but like Good Omens, their final season has now been reduced to like what, two or three episodes, but like longer ones. Yes, because of the terrible things that, what's his name? Neil Gaiman? Is that it? Has done. Fuck that guy, honestly. But like, I feel like we will probably get a similar sort of thing like that, where instead of like a full season, whether it was a full season to finish it or a full season to continue the stories, I feel like we're most likely to get like a couple or three long episodes, maybe even just one, like maybe a film length, one singular episode to just complete the plot, answer the questions that we all still have from the millions of just like cliffhangers we've been left with. I'd have really eaten up this show to continue, because like I said, there's a few things that I do really enjoy that have been interpretations of Greek myths. There are some things from Stray Gods I would have liked to have seen similarly introduced into Kaos. Like, they have a non-binary Hermes, would have eaten that up. Would have loved some more like music goth chicks being the muses like in there, whilst we couldn't have a butch Persephone like that is in Stray Gods, because so magnifique. We could have had somebody else who was butch, you know, somebody else could have been butch. We could have had some more of the Furies, like, please, it's fun. We could have had something else, you know. And I could be Artemis. Come on, guys, I could have been Artemis. I could be the butch Artemis, except I'm a little bit, but I can be butch. I can butch it up, I promise. People call me Artemis anyway. People call me Artemis. Even though my name's Artie, my friends elongate my name to give me nicknames. I'm Artemis to some people. And, I mean, I'm asexual. Who would have been a better Artemis? Please. Come on, I could have been a really good Artemis. Come on. Can you imagine? No. I could go to Crete. I like the sun. Please, I'm available. And if I'm not, I will make myself available. Could you have imagined? Come on. I could see it. With or without the money pieces, you know? I'd dye my hair. There have been so many brilliant versions of these gods and the mortals and other beings of these interpretations of myths that I'm like sad that we're unlikely to get more of an exploration into other interpretations of these, you know, characters, basically, because this is probably one of the few shows that really leaned into the queering side of it as well. I think a lot of other shows and books and films, it's always still been, for one, very white, still like like I said, they're like, who are the gays? Don't know them. So like everything has been very cishet, you know. We could have just had so much, and because it was such like a big show with so many really huge actors from like ridiculously high places of Hollywood, but also including some of the most random British or I don't know if they're Australian, New Zealand, I don't know, I'm so sorry. I'm guessing that guy was Maori, but I don't know. You know, the complete random choices. Well, it seems random when you just kind of glance at it, like how they would just throw in people from wherever. They could definitely push that further as well, but like, yeah, I think that show could have become huge, which could have also rocketed some amazing like new talent off into like insane amounts of success, particularly like the queer and trans people, or the people of colour working on this show. And yeah, I really liked how they tied all of these different myths together with an overarching plot to do with the prophecies. Just looking at these characters in new experimental ways, delicious. delicious. I love stuff like that. You know, fan fiction of myths. Absolutely my tea. And I'll say it again, fuck the MCU, give me Chaos back. Give me Chaos back, please. That's my video talking about Chaos. I have never been so devastated that a show is cancelled, even though I literally knew it was cancelled before starting it. I didn't think I would be so upset. Because I thought, oh, they'll probably still have some kind of like tying up of the endings with maybe a little bit of a loose end, leaving a possibility for a season 2. No. No, they literally made season 1 with the purpose of a season 2. How dare you cancel it after like 4 weeks or something? It was ridiculous when I was reading up on why it was cancelled and when. So anyway, if it does come back, I am free and available to play Artemis, but I am open to other offers too. I mean, look at me, I'm cute. I'm also really camp and gay IRL, and a great physical performer. You know, I feel like me and Dionysus could be on the same sort of level when it comes to comedy. But I mean, I can also give deadpan because I'm autistic. Artemis is obviously autistic as well, clearly. She doesn't take your shit, but also she could absolutely be a they, them, you know. She could be a they, them or a butch, she, her. Or either or, you know. She could be a butch, they, them too. Anyway, I'm sorry, I'm just like absolutely rambling because I'm so upset at this incredible possibility. Flush down the toilet, absolutely rude. So yeah, if you've watched this show, please leave me a comment, because I don't know enough people who have watched this show to be able to like be upset about the show with, because like I'm so upset. And I've nowhere to put that energy. I have nowhere to put the energy. So it's just inside me. And in my video now. Yeah, I will go now. That's my video for this week. Please like, leave a comment, subscribe to my channel to see more of me. I have other media videos as well if you want to go watch them, and other topics too. But like, if you're here more for the media, you can go and just enjoy the media side. Also, please don't forget to watch my other videos and share my videos. We are doing the work for watch time, and
people gotta watch the videos
for that to go up. So anyway, if you think anybody you know would like me or my content, or the shows I talk about, or have similar health conditions to me that I talk about, send them something I've made, please and thank you. So I'm gonna go lay down. So yeah, that's my video for this week. I'll see you next week. Bye.